Hello, guys. Buenos dias. Buenos dias to everybody. Hope you guys woke up great today and you're doing fine. Uh, Coming in here real quick just to speak about the clothing that we as practitioners wear. There might be a big difference when you see a Enzo, a House of Palo, on the way they dress. The reason why I say this is if you compare the way we dress in Malongo and in Kisi Malongo and Palo, and you compare it to Orisha worship or Santeria, Lukumi, you'll see a major difference in the clothing. Why I say major? Major because most of the times in the Afro-Cuban Santeria, people dress, especially when they're gonna do a tambor or something like that, they dress very well dressed. Most of the time they dress in colors representing the Orisha of their head, their main Orisha, or they just dress nice, And when you look at Palo as a tradition, you will see that we are more of simple and natural way of dressing. We have that, meaning that in some instances, in some houses of Palo, if not all, there'll be a time maybe when you'll dress in white for certain occasions or certain spiritual activities or stuff like that. But the majority of the time, you'll be dressed in the most simplest form. And why simple? Simple because you have to understand that the tradition is a tradition that comes from a time when people lived very simple. Most of the times things were done outdoors. People got accustomed to being barefooted with no shoes or sandals on. A lot of the men didn't wear shirts. They wore pants to like they pants under the knees or pants before the ankles, in that sense. The majority of the time in a lot of houses, the women, they do wear a skirt. They do predominantly dress in white. Some houses require that. Some houses don't require for you to dress in white as long as you come with a skirt. Then you have some houses that require the woman to wear pants, and they have their reasons also. So you're gonna see that in Mayombe, the dressing is very differently. You might go to a house and you might see the men barefooted and with no shirts on. You understand? And you might go to another house and you might see the men with pants and shirts on but barefooted. They just don't have their shoes on. Some houses you might see women with pants on. Some houses you might see women with white clothes, white dresses on. Or sometimes, or you might see them with a dress on but of any color. These are slight differences that some houses, some Palo houses have, and it's all great. There's nothing wrong with it. You understand? Just always remember that the Palo tradition is more a tradition of Malongo. Is more natural. It's more of the elements. And when you're out in the jungle or you're out in the country and you're walking around or practicing your custom, that's dirt, There's trees, there's grasses, there's plants, there's all types of things out there, animals, insects, that you are going to be surrounded of, or by. So, you know, the a lot of the traditional houses, they try to keep the tradition alive, and that sense of being, able to dress the most simple as possible. Um, there are a lot of houses that will not let you come in the Enzo with shoes on, even with socks. Sometimes no socks, because they follow more that traditional way, being barefooted. And there's nothing wrong with it. It actually brings you back to your roots, of before we had all this luxury. How did our ancestors live? You know, we have the ability to dress with different type of clothings, name brand, non-name brand, different colors. When our ancestors didn't have like a variety, they didn't have this thing that we have today, which we have stores all over the place, already, different, already of different colors, shirts and pants already dyed out for us. We just pick the size and the type and we just put it on. So it's nice to be in a place where you get reminded of that simple and kind of like humble way of living for that day, for those couple of hours. Some people might not like that because they are so used to here, the way we dress nowadays and then to react and stuff. But us, especially, they are born in islands in the Caribbeans, where we, as kids, we walked barefooted. It was normal. We all walked barefoot on top of hot asphalt, hot ground, dirt. We went into the country to go to the rivers, and some of us stepped on cow manure and all that walking. We just cleaned it off with the grass and kept on going. We would climb trees for the fruits of the trees. We would go to the rivers and bathe and hang around and have a good time, and then come out and just walk, a couple of miles back to where we live at through the countryside. So for a lot of us that come from a Caribbean island or a place where it's literally country, everywhere you look, is very simple. There's a time when we didn't have toilets where I lived at. They were what we call latrines. It's a shack built with old wood and a little metal tin top, all just made up, looked like somebody made out of different type of pieces of wood. And in there was a piece of cement with a hole in there, and it was away from the house, meaning you have to leave the house at whatever time at night or during the day to go to that latrine to do your necessity and come right back out. It was a time when I was growing up where they didn't have no hot water. It was cold, and we had to fill up a bucket with a cup and bathe with that. Times when I went to school, it was people of humble, very poor, you understand, where I lived with my grandmom, and I only had 2 pairs of pants and 2 shirts for school and 1 pair of shoes. And every day after school, you had to come get that little metal tin, look like a bucket, but it's wider, put it with water, a little soap, and wash those pair of pants, wash those socks, that shirt, that underwear, and hang it up, because you only had 2 pairs, so the one you used that day, you had to wash it, use the clean one, and so forth and so on. That's how it went. And why I say this is because when you are raised from humble uh, um, traditional places, you learn to value what you have, and you're easier to survive and live in a situation if it ever happens, that comes by, that you don't have that, you know, that luxury, That's, how, what I'm talking about: light, electric, gas, things like that. You know, for me, it's easy. Gas could go, light could go, and I still survive because I lived in those times. Well, we're not talking about that, right? Well, it just jumped into that. Like always, I always jump into something. I'm sorry, guys, but yeah, Palo Mayombe, you're gonna see it more traditionally practiced. Very, very, very simple on the clothing. In the Santeria Lukumi tradition, you're gonna see it more. I don't want to say one dirty and one cleaner. I just want to say one more traditional, like to the country way of living, and one more, and the other, a little more up to date as far as they dress code and all that. Not saying that they don't get dirty, because here and then they do with the things that they have to do. They do, but you will see Palo be more of that practice that gets more, does a lot of more hands-on. You understand? A lot of hands-on in the tradition of Palo. Everything is done hands-on. Everything is, it's a lot of work and things to be done. So, we're not afraid to get dirty or anything, because in the natural world, in a humble life where you only have a certain amount of clothing, you're gonna have to use what you have. You understand? And just wash it when you're done. Just wanted to give you a little bit of the differences, Palo and the other African Cuban traditions, for you to understand why we dress a certain way. And it also brings, like I said, remembrance of those times, of those days, when everything was just, nobody worried about what you wear. Nobody was looking at your shirt and saying, "Oh, that guy's wearing a yellow shirt." Nobody was worrying about that, because everybody lived so simple, that wasn't an issue. Nowadays, you wear a blue sock with a red sock, and and you show it, they could see it, and people are talking, "Oh, look at that so and so with one red sock, one blue sock." Reality, who cares? You got socks on. What does it matter? Maybe you like wearing two-tone like that, two colors like that. Maybe it represents something for you that nobody else knows. So it's like we live in a different time, different society. A lot of stuff has changed out here, especially in the street. In the street code, if you live in the ghettos and stuff like that, street codes have changed. It's just not the same anymore. Okay? So I appreciate you guys for watching. Just wanted to give you a quick explanation on the clothing, if you see it, why. You don't have to come in dressing with any old clothes or anything. You could use the clothes that you want. You just gotta be mindful that if one of the elders, whether male or female, tells you, "Listen, I need you to come in this day dressed in white, all white," then you respect that and you come in dressed all white, because it's for a purpose. But other than that, guys, I can't stress it out more than what I can. Life and these days are, to me, for my opinion, worse than what it was, at least in the early 90s. But I hope you guys heard that little bit of Mbongi yesterday that I put out, and you understood a little bit about it. I couldn't read too much, because Mbongi has more meaning to that whole system of meeting and talking about political and many other things, and the structure that they used and how they ran. It's like it's a very big thing in the African tradition, especially the Kikongo, Congo, Bakongo, Bantu people. Salam alaikum, alaikum salam. Talk to you guys soon.